There's a classic quote from Shakespearean literature that I'm sure many of us are familiar with. Et tu, Brute? Julius Caesar was attacked and backstabbed by political rivals, but his greatest pain came from learning that his friend Brutus was in on it. This conveys that betrayal is a particularly devastating thing to suffer. When you play Toal's route in Ys Origin, you'll be stepping into the shoes of the traitor himself, and the consequences of his actions will be explored. The traitor's relationships with his former allies and what kind of future he can possibly have form the core of Toal's story. So today we take a close look at exactly why Toal chose the path that he did, and whether he's a traitor to Ys or is in fact betraying the Darklings. This video is the third and final part of my coverage on Ys Origin. To understand this route and also my video about it, I recommend having already watched parts 1 and 2 of this little series. There will be spoilers for all 3 routes, as I'll be giving my overall thoughts on the game as a whole. Right away things feel different from the other 2 routes. Instead of Toal talking to a tree, we get this cinematic of the 2 goddesses finding Toal's broken sword discarded in the wasteland that Ys has become. Wonder if that will be important later. See, Toal used to be one of the holy knights of Ys, and when Solomon's shrine was raised into the air to escape from the demons, he stayed on the surface with Unica's dad to fight the demons to the very end. Now he's working with the bad guys, the Darklings that have taken control of the rampaging demons and want to steal the powers of the goddesses and the Black Pearl. Yeah, this story rightfully assumes that you already know how the other 2 went, so certain background details aren't delivered this time. There's often a weird thrill out of getting to be the villain in a video game. I guess just role-playing as the bad guy is fun. You'll feel that same giddiness as you start the game standing next to the final boss of Unica and Hugo's routes at the top of the tower. He orders you and your fellow minions to search the tower from top to bottom in order to find those pesky goddesses. So you start at the very bottom and the hunt begins. Now, if you were expecting some kind of info dump about Toal telling us why he's working for Dallas now, there's nothing of the sort. Instead, after each block of the tower are these sort of memory scenes which detail Toal's past. They focus heavily on his feelings and relationships more than his actions and decisions. He is questioned by his old allies from Ys, and he usually responds with a question of his own, which is very rude and not something you should do. Or he says some vague nonsense about seeing this path through to the end. So you're climbing the tower from top to bottom once more, searching for the goddesses, only this time you want to capture them instead of rescue them. You still fight all the demons in the tower, including the bosses, because Toal wants to steal their power and make himself stronger. You still have a rough encounter in the fire block, you still visit Goddess Fina in Rado's annex, you still rage at how goddamn hard the sand block is, and you still get sucked into this trap placed by Zava, and you still hand over Rhoda fruits to Ruse for goodies. It's possible to understand them now that you're a demon, but after you get to know them a bit, you'll wish you couldn't understand them. Toal is described as for experts only on the character select screen. Maybe he's more risky to play as or requires a greater game knowledge, I don't know. What I do know is that he is way more powerful than Hugo and Unica. He deals a ton of damage and can melt enemy health bars. His burst mode turns him into a demon that deals mega damage, and late game he can even fire this huge beam. Early on you get this dash move that reminds me of Hyper Light Drifter. It's not the most spectacular or offensively impressive tool, but it allows you to pull off hit and run tactics with ease, or use iframes to cheese an unexpected attack. It's great for those moves where a boss just chases you with an active hitbox and melts your HP too. Later on you get this lightning attack. You have to come to a stop to use it, making it the opposite of the hit and run tactics the previous power-up provided. You leave yourself open to attacks when you use it, but the concentrated damage can be useful on some enemies. Finally, you get this fiery ballerina twirl. It feels like a lamer version of Unica's spinny move, so the only time I made extensive use of it was against this boss that seemed to laugh at literally any other means of attack. You'll recall that Unica's last power-up turned her into a bit of a ranged fighter, and Hugo's one gave him a potent close range ability. Toal does not get a range tool, and so he's stuck using close range for the whole game. He's the only one who doesn't end up feeling like a hybrid class of sorts by the end. Despite being the least versatile character, he still feels like the most powerful due to the insane amount of damage he can do. Let's talk a bit about those characters. When Ys was elevated into the sky, Toal and his commander Saul Tova remained on the ground to fight off the demons. Saul is Unica's father, and Toal still feels a great deal of respect towards his old commander and a duty to keep Unica alive as a favour for his late friend. He even hands over the commander's fire sword to Unica, although he somehow retains his fiery powers despite this. Hugo is of course Toal's brother, who was sent to the surface by their father, Cain Fact, to kill Toal. Hugo carries a strong hatred for his brother, beginning as long-building resentment from Toal, severing ties with his family and reaching a critical point when Toal begins working for the Darklings. Overall, Hugo's story plays out mostly the same in this route as his own route. He has even more ship tease with Epona this time, and the demonic possession part happens as well. We get a better look at Toal's inner thoughts on his brother too. Despite their long time apart, Toal still thinks a lot about his brother and even feels like he is the inferior one sometimes. The final relationship important to Toal's story is his connection with the goddesses Rhea and Fina. We learn a lot more about their thoughts on what's happening during the events of the game, as well as their innermost fears and doubts. They were already likeable characters from Unica's route, but this route does even more for the pair. Turns out Toal was seemingly in love with Rhea, as she is the subject of many memory scenes, and Toal's encounter with her within the tower is a crucial point in the story. So over time it will become obvious to the player that Toal is not a traitor to Ys. He's been planning on betraying the Darklings from the moment he joined them. That being said, he is still something of a broken man who sees no hope or future for himself, and he feels deep shame for having to resort to using demonic powers. His goal was to become powerful enough to destroy the Darklings from within their ranks, but after learning more about the Black Pearl and the essence of all demons, he resolves to give up his own life to destroy the Black Pearl and wipe out the demons forever. His love, Rhea, does not wish to see him die like this, but she herself is equally self-sacrificing and wishes to shoulder the burden of sealing herself away with the Pearl. What results is basically a very unhealthy race between the two to be the first to sacrifice themselves for the good of the other and all of Ys. It's one of the most interesting dynamics I've ever seen between a couple in a JRPG, and one that I took a morbid fascination with. The Holy Knights and the Sorcerers of Ys get comparatively less focus. The subplot with the knights being turned to stone and needing to be rescued is completely absent, which leads to some questions. So, in Unica's route, Unica uses the power of a fake Black Pearl to remove the petrification. Unica receives this item from Hugo. We don't learn where Hugo got it in this scene, but it's a tantalizing hint of other developments taking place within the tower without your direct involvement. Then, in Hugo's route, we learn that Hugo got the fake pearl from Toal, who reveals Dallas had been using it for practice. And in Toal's route, the fake pearl never comes up. So, we never find out how the exchange of hands took place. Unica gets it from Hugo gets it from Toal, and Toal gets it from... where? Where did Toal get it? And that brings me to my biggest criticism of Ys Origin. On their own, the stories range from excellent to solid, but they don't harmonise with each other. Toal's story definitely lost some oomph because I'd already seen most of it twice, but that's besides the point. One character's route will leave a question hanging, such as where Toal vanished to after the end of Hugo's route, and they don't get answered by the other routes. They don't get answered at all, in fact. It's unsatisfying. This isn't some Rashomon plot where the stories complement each other and fill in the blanks. It's 3 stories that share characters and content but have no continuity with each other. There's more. Unica's story is the best written one in my opinion, but it feels tacked on to the rest of the game. Hugo and Toal are related to each other. Epona's character almost revolves around Hugo. It turns out that Toal was a close friend of the goddesses and a comrade of Saul Tova, all making Unica's status of Rhea and Fina's friend and Saul's daughter feel less significant. It's like, Why did I have to play the game first as Unica just to be later shown how unimportant she is to everything else that's going on in the canon route? And Toal's route is unambiguously canon. In addition to giving us more lore about the world of Ys and the characters than any other route, it also has a new final boss, and it's a good one. So after you beat Dallas as normal, complete with Sword of Plot Advancement last minute power up, oh my god, it did come back! A new figure appears. Cain Fact, father of Toal Fact and Hugo Fact. This is pretty cool. He was subtly introduced as a player in this story back in Hugo's route as the reason Hugo was sent to kill Toal, and his strained relationship with Toal is touched upon briefly in Toal flashbacks. You can even see him here in the opening cinematic. The goddesses also mention a traitor within the ranks of Ys, but I never expected it would be a character who had mostly existed off screen until now. Cain Fact's reveal as the true villain of Ys Origin feels surprising without being an unsatisfying forced twist that comes out of nowhere. He calls Dallas a useless sack of shit, then takes the power of the Black Pearl for himself. Using the Pearl's power, Cain transforms into the monster known as Darm. Now, as I said in my Unica video, this is the only Ys game I've played, so I can only speculate, but I wouldn't be surprised if Darm turns out to be a Ganon-esque recurring antagonist we'll see in later games. You take him on in a long and difficult fight that involves 3D platforming of all things, and then he's sealed away along with the goddesses and the Black Pearl. Rhea wins her race against Toal to be the one who sacrifices themselves for the sake of Ys. Toal returns to Ys still floating in the sky to record what happened. To be continued in Ys 1. Beating Toal's story unlocks an arena mode. Here you fight fixed waves of enemies to earn points, and you spend those points to buy more stages. For a fat stack of points, you can even play as Adol Kristen as a bonus character. This guy's the protagonist of the other Ys games, but I decided not to unlock him, figuring I should save my proper introduction to the guy for Ys 1. And yes, his name really is one letter away from being Adolf. So between that and the unpronounceable title of the games themselves, it's like Falcom wanted this series to fail. Anyway, he doesn't have a story in this game or anything. He wasn't even born yet. Honestly, the whole arena mode feels kinda half-assed. When you beat a stage, there's this ugly cut back to the level select without so much of a windscreen to your name. You also get a time trial mode for beating the game with any character. It lets you skip cinematics and fast forward dialogue, which is nice for repeat playthroughs, and most impressively, it even has online leaderboards seemingly across all versions. And that's everything Ys Origin has to offer. Really good game with some refreshing writing I hadn't seen in a while. The missed potential of having all the routes harmonise with each other properly definitely stings. Unica and Hugo's routes end with the words "to be continued," but they won't. Those are non-canon. They won't be continued. And Hugo seemingly never finds out that his dad is evil and now sealed away and a monster and other things. It's also a shame how removed one of the routes feels from the other two. Unica is the only one with zero connection to the real villain of the story. But hey, it could be worse. At least her route is actually good and I'm not stuck playing a fishing minigame all day. Overall, it's by no means a deal breaker, and the canon route is pretty good nonetheless. And with some exciting hints towards the future events in the series, such as this mention of a mysterious arc, I'm very excited to continue with the Ys games. Ys Origin is the game that got me into action RPGs, and I think you'll have a wonderful time with it whether you're a long-time fan or have never touched the franchise before. Hiya, thanks for watching my final video on Ys Origin. Video 3 of 3. Had a ton of fun making this, looking forward to making more on other games. This isn't just an Ys channel, don't worry, we're gonna cover a different game next time. I will say that the time between now and the next video is gonna be quite a bit longer than the gaps between my previous videos. So the past 3 videos were about a week each apart, give or take a couple of days, but when I uploaded my Unica video, I already had scripts drafted for Toal and Hugo's video, and I already had all the footage recorded. But for the next game that I have in mind, the one that I want to cover, I don't have either of those things. I will need to play it, I will need to record tons and tons of footage, and I'll need to write a script, fix it all up, and then I'll need to edit it together. So I'm gonna be gone for a little while. Considering uploading very short videos on the channel just to keep activity up. I also do have a Twitter linked on my channel that I'll try to be more active on right now. The only thing I ever really do is retweet drawings of Inklings. But maybe I'll try to post actual content next time. This video was the most challenging of the three for me. I really struggled to put together a good script that I was happy with. I know what you just watched wasn't the best thing in the world, but it was a lot worse at the start. It was so bland and just completely uninteresting. But thankfully I was able to improve it quite a bit and put it in a state where I was happy enough to release it. That's all I gotta say. See you next time whenever the next video is done, and thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.